Oh, I'm on it. It's all good. Grabbing the link to throw in Discord. Okay, you can flip it. Oh, you already have. My bad. All right, we're live. Rude Awakening. Wake you guys up a little bit this morning. 11 a.m. Friday. We've been pretty consistent with going live at 11 on Fridays. I think we're just going to keep that up. I think that's going to be the mood. Now, once the season rolls around, which, how far away are we? 43 days, 44 days, somewhere in there. That might get a little tougher to do. Travel. If I go live from 11 to 4 and then leave I guess I'm only going to Tallahassee so many times. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what you guys like. We also go live a lot on Thursday nights. Actually, no, we moved that to Wednesday nights last year. I'm just kind of rambling to get this thing started because we're trying to hang out. We're trying to have some fun today. Trying to see what all you guys got going on. What are you guys doing this week? You guys excited? A lot of big news here, there, and everywhere. A lot of recruiting stuff that we'll get into. Oh man, some rumors circulating, some rumors swirling. Just some crazy stuff that people are reporting, saying, think they know, think that other stuff. What's up, Kirk? What's up, Louis? 9 o'clock. What are you in California? Or where is it 9 o'clock? It's 9, what in the world? Bro, it's 11 in God's time zone. Where are you that it's 9? I put out, listen, I've talked about this a lot, and I don't, we're just kind of like killing some time as some people get in here. Courtney with a typo already. That was quick. I feel like the Gator fans are struggling these days, y'all. I just feel like they're in a bad spot. They seem like they're really in a rough position. And so it's tough on them. Put out a video this morning that upset them again, just talking about how they're kind of focused on FSU. They went up to SEC Media Days and just basically focused on FSU the whole time they were there. I don't know. Court's struggling. Sounded like there were some roofers at her house this morning. She's getting a new roof because she's rich. There's nothing wrong with her roof, that she's just doing it. So hit the thumbs up button if you're in here. Shout out the Animal House. Shout out the Discord members. Shout out everybody that is just tuned in to get info and has to listen to me talk about nonsense for the first 3 or 4 minutes of this thing before we really get into anything, because you guys are the real MVPs. Everybody else like kind of filters in. We try and get like a good number of people in here. The problem is, no matter when you really start the show, right, or the info or whatever, or what you want to talk about, let me move the camera down a little bit. There's always somebody that like comes in with like 3 minutes to go and says like, "Hey, what was the big update?" I can say that now because that person's not here yet. But like, I'm just supposed to say the big update 400 times, over the hour that I'm live. So, on the computer, the pre-broadcast notice that you're going live always is 1 hour early, 10 a.m. instead of 11 a.m. I'm in Florida, God's time, no daylight. So that's interesting. Let me look at the so I think I get an email like when something's going to go live. I wonder if my time zone settings are wrong. There you go, Brandon. What's the big update? We could check on the time. Yeah, see, Louis says Denver. We could check on the time zone settings. I can make sure that that's accurate and that that's right. I'm pretty sure it is, because the countdown's always right on mine. So maybe check your settings as well. But I will look into that before we go to next week. Harlan, please remind me of that, or else I will forget. Eric is here. Late is no problem. Are you guys working today? Is anybody off yet? Is anybody done with work? That's what's really important. All right, it's been 5 minutes of nonsense and BS. We can just kind of jump into things. I think we have a lot of big updates. I think there's a lot of stuff kind of circulating, a lot of stuff being said. We'll start here. Charles Lester commits in 1 week, 1 week from tonight on July 28th. How are you feeling there? Florida State fans, whether there is reason for it or not, Gator Kirk says that he gets his update at 10:30 that it would be live in 30 minutes. So yeah, I think it's good on our side. So maybe check your check your settings there if it said an hour earlier than that. All right, I'm gonna try and stay focused this week. We had a lot of people in the comments last week that watched the replay that said you didn't do a very good job of staying focused, and I said, well, if you would have been on the live, it would have made more sense to you. But Charles Lester, so interesting here, interesting thoughts on him. I think that Florida State fans, whether there is a controversy or not, Florida State fans will kind of create one and will start to freak out and melt down either way, right? Like if there's something to freak out about, you kind of understand it. But if there's not, they will still find a way to freak out, to melt down, and just kind of have a panic attack. I will say this about Charles Lester. An article came out earlier this week that said that Charles would be taking a surprise visit, that he would be doing something, but it didn't say where. It said he'd be doing something kind of off the wall, something that wasn't expected. I've heard some different things. I've heard some things that we can talk about, some things we can't talk about. I've heard a lot this week on Charles Lester, and everything that I've heard, I still feel very confident in FSU. Now, in a week and a day, could that get old Taze exposed? Absolutely. It's still recruiting. You're still dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-olds. You're still dealing with massive amounts of money and kids' futures and everything else. But as of today, I still feel really, really good about Charles Lester, and I expect him to be in Florida State's class. I expect him to sign with the Seminoles, and I expect him to commit to FSU a week from tonight. I can't remember exactly what time his ceremony is. I don't know if it's like a 7:30, 8:30 thing. I believe it was at night. Harlan, I don't know if you have that or not, but I believe that he will be a Seminole. So we'll see. A lot going on. Jeff, look at Jeff getting us started today. All right, that's a good point to bring that up. Harlan, let's get Jeff some love here, and then we'll talk about it.
You a recruit and you ain't going to Florida State. What you doing?
That's probably the most perfect super chat. Do it again. That's beautiful.
You a recruit and you ain't going to Florida State. What you doing?
That's probably the most perfect super chat noise that you could use for Charles Lester, or who we'll talk about here in just a minute. Jeff, I appreciate it. Jeff says, I'm not worried about Lester. Believe he's coming here. This is not Travis Hunter. The difference is Hunter was committed to us and flipped the last day. Lester is not committed to anybody. And that's the big thing, right? Florida State fans have penciled him into this class for a long time, but it is very different. Travis Hunter certainly was a bigger deal because he was committed. Jeff, I appreciate the super chat. You're our leader today. You get us started with the super chat. I have the Venmo and the PayPal up there on the bottom of the screen. You're still welcome to super chat. I know that's a lot easier. What I have talked about is that YouTube is a little bit of a scam artist, and they take a pretty good percentage of your super chats. So if you want to give YouTube less, you can Venmo, PayPal. I've got the alerts set up where we'll still put your comments on the screen, but it's an easier way to get to that top of the list. But Jeff, you are our leader to start today. Sorry, Brad, you've been retired. Okay, so still feel really good about hashtag Mike got us. What a great hashtag. What's funny about the Mike got us thing is that it started out as a troll from the rivals, right? And they would be funny with it, and now I think it's being. I know there's questions around recruiting. I think some of those are going to get answered over the next 2 weeks. But now it's so funny to see that because there is no question. And I think Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal both recruit very well. And there's no questions around that. There is absolutely no question that Mike Norvell's a better coach than both of those guys. I wouldn't call him a better recruiter. That's not a shot at Mike. I just think those guys are great recruiters. It is funny now looking at it because Mike is so much of a better coach. He's a better play caller. He just it's not even close. Better game day coach. They both make terrible decisions. In game. We'll see if they kind of change, improve this, that, and the other. But shout out Jeff. Jeff getting us started today. So I still feel good about Charles Lester. Again, happy to hear your comments. Happy to hear what you guys have down there below. But I do. Is it playing golf? Harlan's about to go out and play. It's not playing golf. I think it's golfing. I'm embarrassed for Kyle. G. I don't think it's playing golf. Harlan invited me up to play golf with a celebrity. I just said it too. Next week, and my wife told me I couldn't go. So minus 1,000 XP for her. But thank you guys for hanging out in the chat today. We'll definitely be giving out some XP. So, okay, who's next? Harlan, KJ Bolden. Before we talk about KJ, let's give. Erica says the same thing. Kyle, you're good. You don't have you're set. I take it back. Harlan judges you, but I don't judge you anymore. Let's give some love to Garnet Gold. As a quick reminder, you guys are in here all the time. You know this, but garnetgold.com. Appreciate them for all of their support. If you're shopping for FSU gear, you should not be doing it anywhere but garnetgold.com. Use code NOSLAW, NOSLAW. Go get the jerseys. They just got reorders of the jerseys in. I'm picking up a polo today. Not picking up in person, but I'm getting a polo, having it shipped today. Excited for my season-long polo that I'm going to have. And I'm also looking at that gray hoodie. I know it's Florida. I know it's 1,000,000 degrees, but there's another gray hoodie similar to the one that Norvell wore last year. I'm excited about that. I might pick up that hoodie too. So if you go get anything FSU related, make sure you get it from garnetgold.com. Yeah, golf is a verb and a noun, isn't it? You can actually golf. So that's why you can say like I'm going to golf, and I think verb is a noun. Golf is a verb and a noun. It can be used both ways. Kind of like play, right? Like, hey, I'm going to play. I'm going to a play. I don't know, whatever. KJ Bolden. I spoke with somebody this morning. I shared some inside info and some exclusive insight in our Discord. I think we've actually done a good job of keeping the KJ Bolden recruitment pretty updated. I think, I don't ever claim to have, the greatest insight or the greatest info on KJ, but I mean, we've gotten some really good updates on that. And so if you're not part of our Discord, if you're not part of, I see Brad in here. Brad, Jeff took your spot. Again, if you want to try and beat him out, use the PayPal and Venmo options. But Brad, you see down there at the bottom, you see what happened. Yeah, I don't claim to have all the sources, all the insight, all the knowledge on every recruitment that happens. But I do, we've been blessed to get some pretty good KJ info, and I think we've done a good job of sharing that in the Discord. So if you're not part of the Discord, you should go join that. I will make it the pinned comment as soon as this live is over. I can't pin a comment because it's the live chat, but I will pin a comment with a link to that. You're welcome to join, and there are some exclusive channels that you can get for less than the cost of a cup of coffee. Actually, much less if you shop at some of the expensive coffee shops, but. Shared some info on KJ. Man, I think the smoke around KJ Bolden is really, really picking up. And it is really kind of, I think, you've got 2 weeks until he commits. You've got 2 weeks until, 2 weeks in a day, I guess, right? Or no, is he on the Friday or Saturday? I can't remember. I think he's on the Saturday. But either way, you've got 2 weeks until he commits. And I think that you're seeing national guys and UGA guys be pretty careful with their words, pretty careful with how they're representing this, what they're saying about KJ, the way that they're kind of going about this recruitment, because I don't I don't think they want to represent it as just like it's done and it's over. And so that's why I think a little bit of news is going to continue to trickle out over the next 2 weeks. But I expect that you'll get more news from national sources that continue to have the Seminoles trending up. I think that you are going to hear more and more and more smoke around how Florida State's positioned in this. I think you're going to hear more UGA guys start to say that Florida State's doing a really good job here and that it's closer than they thought. And then I think you're going to get to a point probably the week after. So we'll be back with you next Friday. We'll do this live again. But I think the week after, actual commit week for KJ, I think you're going to hear more and more and more. And I think I'm projecting a little bit, but I think this time in 2 weeks when KJ is just, day of or day before a decision, I think the consensus will be that he picks FSU. That's the way that I think it's trending. That's the way that I think it's getting as we get closer, right? I think with 2 weeks to go, national guys like Chad Simmons and UGA writers like Rusty Mantel and others, they're not just going to come out and say like, hey, this is Florida State's. But I think they're going to trend. And as we get closer and closer and closer, the writing will be on the wall. You'll see some news come out this week on KJ. We'll continue to keep you updated in the Discord. Again, we dropped a little bit of a nugget this morning on that. But I think that in a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, you will see the complete flip of where things are. I'm not trying to give you too much hope, but I've given the Discord even more hope. So if you want to completely get bought into this thing and think that Florida State could potentially land, as Kyle just said, maybe the best safety prospect in a long time out of high school, and go join the Discord and I'll hype you up over there. So, hey, shout out Jeff Hill, again, our leader. Somebody come in here and beat him. Jeff, I don't know if you're part of the Discord or not, but you got to get in there, man. We'll give you a bunch of XP. We'll level you up. I'll put you one ahead of Canada. So I know that probably doesn't mean a lot to you if you're not in there, but you'll enjoy being one ahead of him. It's great to bump him down just a little bit. So sorry to whoever's number 5 right now. I think you'll get bumped out of the top 5. Yeah, big XP. Who needs to get in the top 5 and join the council that's not in there? We need to give away some XP today. So somebody go out and beat him. We did talk about Lester a little bit. Jeff, what's your name in there, man? Like, tag me real quick and we'll get you some love. We did talk about Lester. Just, quick recap there. We just spoke about Bolden. You can scroll back on the live and then watch on 2 times speed and catch back up. But we talked about Lester just a little bit. Canada didn't join the live today, so I don't feel bad. I still feel good about Charles Lester. You may hear some news come out in the near future. You may hear some things that concern you. You may hear some things that make you happy. All that said, I still feel good about Charles Lester was basically the long or the short. If I say that at the beginning, though, everybody just tunes out. So I can't just give, I got to extend it out. That's what she said. It can't just, can't just go with it real quick like that. Oh, I just saw the green screen. It's annoying, man. I don't know what to say. All right, linebacker transfer. Had some questions around this. Some people wanting to know about this. Man, I told the Discord yesterday, I'm getting very close to thinking that Justin, is it Cryer? Cryer? I really don't know how else you would say that. It's a kid that Florida State had a relationship with, going to be transferring, added his name to the portal due to his coach being fired at Northwestern. That whole situation that's going down there. Prayers up for Brian Hartline to end up taking that job for other reasons. But a kid entering the portal, I think that Florida State likes him to add as a depth piece. True freshman, he doesn't have any experience, but Florida State does have a lot of young guys right now. And I think the idea around that recruitment would be, hey, you're really confident in your linebacking core. And we could talk about linebacking recruiting forever. And I don't necessarily know that I want to get into that, but I do think that #blame Drew. I do think that Florida State's very confident in their top 2, 3 linebackers. They really love Kalen. They love Tatum. I mean, Kalen, shoot, he's going to ACC Media Days. They love what they have in that kid, both on and off the field. Really like Tatum Bethune. Really like DJ Lundy. I think that once you go down from there, you like Graham. But at that point, you really got to go into some really young guys, right? And you've got to go to, a Blake Nicholson or a DeMarco Ward or just different people that, man, I don't know. Can you count on true freshmen? And so maybe, but if you just add to the room, if you add to the numbers, you have more people you could potentially rely on, right? You have more true freshmen, you have more young guys that if this one's not cutting it, this one is. I think they like the kid, but I don't expect him to come in and make a massive impact. And hopefully you don't have to rely on him because your top guys do stay healthy. There goes Brad.
Touchdown, Florida State! Touchdown, FSU!
Brad taking back his top spot there. Brad didn't even say anything. Brad just showing love. That's what we love to see from Brad. Brad, your next couple comments we'll throw up there. So shout out Brad taking the top spot back. But yeah, I've heard that Florida State's getting extremely close to adding that linebacker, eligible immediately, hasn't played anywhere. And Kyle, we're not going into that today. That can be an Animal House conversation. I will talk about that in just a minute. But yeah, shout out to Brad. I think Florida State's getting close to adding that linebacker. I think that could happen sooner rather than later. I think that could be something that happens within the next week or so. Try and get that kid on campus. I believe his semester ends on the 27th, is what I've read. So next week, I think you could hear that announced shortly thereafter. If Florida State wants him, I think that they end up pulling the trigger and getting him. I like Jeff Culhane a ton. Personally, I think he's phenomenal. People are going to – he ain't retiring me, Brad said. Look at Brad taking the cake here. I think we need to I think we're going to have to we'll have a little battle going down here. Brad takes the lead there on the bottom. So what were we saying? Okay, Culhane. I like Culhane a lot. Personally, I think he's phenomenal. He's always been a great guy to me. He's been great to interact with. I have enjoyed every meeting and every conversation that I've had with him. I also think he does a phenomenal job on all of the non-play-by-play stuff. Like, Gene's job was 5 hours on Saturday, right? And Jeff's doing so much more with more pregame, doing so much more basketball, doing a little baseball. He did a softball series. He also did the Florida game in softball. Also, the after practice stuff, I think Jeff does a great job with that. I like that insight. And he's doing a podcast too, where he's getting a lot of these interviews and doing stuff with folks all over Florida State. I've enjoyed his highlights. I will say this. I've not listened to Jeff call a full game just because I've been watching, I've been at the games. So I haven't listened to the full play-by-play, so I've heard highlights and stuff, which I've thought have been great. So I really can't speak to the full game play-by-play. I will say Jeff is kind of like, it's kind of like anything else. When you take over for an absolute legend, there's going to be people that love what you do, and there's going to be people that are like, it's not Gene, and I don't think Jeff is trying to be Gene by any means. But I think he does. I've enjoyed, he gets excited, he gets hyped. I think he does a great job. I've heard some of the UF guys, the UF new guy, which I liked Mick Hubert, from court. I liked Mick Hubert. I know he's a Gator thing, but he had his signature stuff. And I like Jeff way better than the new UF guy. So I'll say that. I think Jeff is way better there. So I really enjoy the Mike. Yes, all that stuff, man, which Gene did that. Gene did the coaches shows too, I guess. But I love to me, again, like Gene was just doing like that 5 hours on Saturday, 6 hours, whatever, it ends up being. But the way that Jeff just kind of does everything, I really enjoy that. I think we're getting more insight into the program. I think we're getting more quality interviews and stuff like that. So I think that's really, really good. People are going to like or not like a voice or the way that he calls the game, and that's fine, right? Like that's just kind of your personal opinion, and there's really no right or wrong there. I think overall he does a pretty good job, and I really like all the extracurricular stuff. So, okay, yeah, Dylan, that's a good question. I did see that. I just didn't know. I was going to share in the Discord, but I didn't know how to say it without sounding kind of weird. But yeah, like I was looking at his arms, the picture of Danzy that he posted, and holy cow, that kid. People just think he's speed, which is great. Like he is fast as lightning, but his arms are absolutely huge. So yeah, Danzy looks jacked. First round for Danzy. Woof. Running backs don't have it like that, man. So that's a bold prediction. It's like a 3-year out bold prediction, though. We'll all forget you said that if he doesn't. Actually, Animal House never forgets. If Animal House is still there in 3 years, just be careful. Okay, love to Gramco. Like Harlan said, 150 people in here and only 40 likes. So smash that like button. Let's get that up a little bit if we can. I will always have a heart for Gene. Hey, you want to know the coolest thing? I think the coolest, maybe not the coolest. I've gotten to do some cool things with this, and I don't know why. I'm just an FSU fan that happens to have started a podcast in the middle of COVID, and here's what it's turned into. We've got an interview Norvell. We've interviewed Hamilton. Like we've done some cool things, but I got to interview Gene Deckerhoff I grew up in Tampa. So Bucks fan. Gene called all those games, called the Knowles games. I knew about Gene as a Bucks guy before a Seminoles fan. So, but got to interview Gene at Garnet and Gold the morning of his last game, which was the spring game last year. And so that's probably the coolest thing I've ever done. So anyway, yeah, I will always love Gene, and he will always be the GOAT. Sorry, Cole Hain, I love you too. But Gene Deckerhoff, greatest of all time, and it's not even close. Okay, Gramco, thegramco.com. If you have, I've had a bunch of people message me this week that they have tried the gummies, they've tried the pre-rolls, the wake and bake call, whatever you're trying, thegramco.com, the best Delta 8 on the market. The blue raspberry gummies are the best. There's the picture of it in Doak. Love Gramco. Love the way they've supported us throughout the last couple of years. They'll be tailgating with us in Orlando for the LSU game. Let's get that link in the description today. I should just copy it over every time if it's not there, but I'm an idiot, so I haven't. But thegramco.com. Erica, he's not dead, man. I'll get you a meeting with Gene. We'll be good. I would have loved. We'll get it. Thegramco.com. TJ25 at checkout for 25% off. Okay. What do we want to talk about next? We're talking about the linebacker. Okay, TJ Abrams commits to Florida. A lot of questions here. I still think Florida State is really, really in a good spot at the wide receiver position. I think that they expected almost. I think they expected there to be some shakeups in the wide receiver room. I think that just TJ specifically was just not super locked in, just not super, whatever, right? Like he committed, and I think that was good. But I also think that as soon as he committed, he took a visit to Colorado and just wasn't, whatever, right? Apparently that visit didn't go super well, but then he started showing up on UF's campus and just didn't seem as locked in as other people. Did take his official visit, and after that official visit, did his post-visit interview and still wasn't locked in. Sorry for yelling. You guys are getting me all passionate about this. I'm going to move the mic away a little bit so I don't get in trouble. But still wasn't locked in. And so I think that at that point, you're saying like, you're committed and you just took an official visit. You got the last OV and you're saying you're not sure what's going to happen. I think at that point, the staff was just like, see you, dude. Like, we're good. I think TJ Abrams was a take. I think Florida State would have absolutely had him sign in this class. I think with the wavering, there was probably a conversation that happened that said like, hey dog, just stay or go, right? Like do you, but like we're not going to play this game. Similar to Rod Kearney last year. Hey, if you want to be there, if you want to go suffer in that under 500 BS, be our guest. Like go have fun. And I think that's similar happened this year. I also think that when you look at the two rooms, I think Florida State's room is a little bit more polished, a little bit more Florida State has a very deep wide receiver room on campus right now, and a lot of young guys in there, like Vandavarius Jacobs. You've got Hakeem Williams, you've got Destin Hill, all true freshmen, Goldie Lawrence as well. So young guys in there. And so I think Florida State's room, it's going to take a young wide receiver more time to end up making a difference in that room. And so I think that's, kind of a big deal as well. Florida State's not done at the wide receiver position and still has Moore, Gibson, Fryer, and McCoy. McCoy's probably a little bit, of a question mark too. I think Florida State's room is still pretty solid. They also have other wide receiver targets that they're going after, big names like Trader, Smith, Coleman. And so was TJ Abrams, less competition at UF, right? And so a guy that's not super locked in has an easier path. I mean, Florida has a couple of good freshman wide receivers. They got Ricky Pearsall that's going to be gone next year, but they don't have a loaded wide receiver room like Florida State does at this point. And so if he saw that as a better move for his career, then more power to him. I still think Florida State has a phenomenal room and is in really good shape. Harlan, I saw your text. You have to, if you can comment from your other account, then you should be able to pin and stuff. I don't know what I don't know exactly what chat you mean there. But yeah, good vibes on Coach Norvell. Hashtag good vibes. He does seem like a pretty good, I like him a ton. In the few interactions that I've had, he's been really cool. Did I ever tell the story in here of watching the softball stuff with Coach Norvell? I'm walking out of a add as a moderator, managing moderator. There you go, Harlan. I'm walking out of a meeting that he was in, and he essentially just grabbed my phone and said, "Hey, I want to watch this," and watch the end of the softball perfect game. So Harlan, I don't know why you just didn't do it from the Double Fries account, but Harlan wants the notoriety. He doesn't want to do it from his personal. I get it. I've been there. But Norvell, really cool guy. I like him a lot. He was funny. He talked a little bit about I gave him a hard time because he asked if it was a perfect game in the middle of a perfect game, which is a huge no-no. And I was like, I'm telling everyone you did this. If she blows it, and then the next pitch it was good. But he was like, no, please don't say anything. So anyway, he joked. He was funny. He had a good time. Wow, timeline getting shaken up a little bit, huh? We're not talking about that one here. We're gonna keep this FSU related. Although I guess that's FSU related. So we'll kind of see what happens here. So, all right, let's jump back into it. What else do we got, Harlan? Y'all are just gonna let Brad run away with this today, huh? Nobody wants to challenge Brad. Nobody wants to take that top spot away. I feel like on Venmo you can give. Well, no, that's not how it works. You still got to beat it, but we'll hold your spot longer. Super chat's welcome. Are we going to do a video this year of who has a lot to prove? Yeah, we've done certain things. We've done some things that are similar to that. We've asked that question in some videos, but we will do a video on who has a lot to prove this year. Harlan, help me remember that because Courtney's going to bug me about it until the end of time. So we just need to get that out this next couple week or so. That'd be one to put in the chamber. Harlan's going on vacation next week and really trying to keep me from doing my best work over here. Did a video this morning on the UF player, focusing all of his offseason energy on Florida State. I saw a lot of comments about that, and a lot of the UF fans were saying, "Hey, he was asked about it. He was asked about who he was looking for. That is not the case. That is not what he was asked. He was not asked about who he was most looking forward to, but that's how he answered. And so that's fake news. I think he was asking about tough schedule or something. I don't know, whatever. But it wasn't like what one game. And he said the game I'm looking forward to the most. And so anyway, he didn't even answer the question. He brought up Florida State. I tweeted about that and how I'm glad that Florida State fans aren't focused on UF right now. And then we did a video on it this morning, which I thought was funny and just kind of good making fun of them. But Florida fans were not happy about that. And listen, I want you to still go watch that video that came out this morning. But Courtney can't play Fortnite. She's got to ask her mom. Florida State is not worried about UF because they have more to play for than just that rivalry. I think Florida literally only has one thing to play for this year, and that is the Florida State game at the end of the year. They're not going to make a bowl. They're not going to be LSU. They're not going to be Georgia. Maybe they're not going to be Tennessee. Maybe they could be Kentucky. They're not going to be Utah. What do they have to play for? They literally just have spoiler to play for, to try and ruin Florida State's season. I think that's the one thing that they could do that would kind of make their year. First of all, they've already punted on this season anyway. But I think I made a comparison that it's like when Phelps beat that guy and the guy was looking over at him and Phelps was just focused, right? Like focused on that's what it looks like to me, right? Florida State's looking forward to it all. And I think that Florida is just kind of focused on Florida State, which they should be. I mean, I'm really not, what else they have to focus on? Okay. What do we got here? I spoke with David Hale about Florida State's offense and defense, and we've talked about this a few times, but was glad to finally get that video out. We did defense. I believe that came out on Tuesday. We did the offensive one yesterday. David's really high. If you don't know, David Hale works for ESPN, covers the ACC. He's really high on both Florida State's offense and defense this year, which maybe isn't super surprising. I think the Noles had a top 10 defense according to all metrics last year at the end of the season. I'd expect that gets better this year. I think they could be pretty close to top 5. What's tough is you're going to have a lot of blowouts, and so how much does garbage time get factored in? How much does, if you're up, 35-3 in the third quarter against Boston College and you pull the dogs off, how does that factor in to overall statistics? How does it factor into efficiency ratings and things like that? Some efficiency ratings do factor in garbage time. Others do not. So that can kind of make it tough, right? Well, you didn't score at all in the second half, or you only scored once and they scored twice. So if you're up 35-3 and you call the dogs off and you win that game 42-14, are you upset? No, I mean, not really. Everybody got out healthy. Maybe they outscored you 2-1 at the end of the game, but who cares? So yeah, Brad's the donation leader. He says what he wants. Shout out Brad again, leading the charge, and nobody else wants to play. So, but yeah, I think Florida State's going to have a top 5-ish offense this year. The big question is the defense, and on paper, this defense is elite, right? I think on paper, this defense is top 10 in the country. I think when you look at where they're at on the defensive line, when you look at where they're at, I cannot get a meeting with Norvell, no. I wish. I could ask him a question you want me to ask, but I can't get a meeting with him. But if you do that much, do not do it through Venmo, or do not do it through YouTube. Do that through Venmo. That YouTube's thieves. Don't do that through YouTube. I was giving them way too much. The question is on defense. And again, I think they're a top 10 defense next year on paper, or this year. The secondary should be in really, really good shape. I know there's a lot of questions around safety depth, and what's funny to me is not funny, but when you're looking at any position grouping out there, right, and you look at any team, if I was to tell you, everybody, oh, what if our safeties go down, or what if this? Well, yeah. But if I was to tell you that the only concern on this team right now was like, who is your third and fourth safeties? And then you look back and you say, we won 5 games 2 years ago and lost to an FCS opponent. Like, our biggest concerns, the way that they've changed over the last few years, are pretty astronomical. Like the way that things have kind of turned around is pretty insane. And so, yeah, am I concerned about safety depth? Absolutely. How does it compare to like my thoughts on this season? It really doesn't. I think that if your biggest concern is safety depth, and that's really your major concern in the season, then you're in a pretty good spot right now. So I think that that's kind of how we should be viewing things. The cornerbacks sound like they're in a great spot. We've talked about this, but Renardo Green, Jarian Jones, and Fintrell Cypress, all really, really good options. I think that you also look at what's on the defensive line. If Fabian Lovett is healthy, you've got Braden Fisk, you've got Farmer, who I think needs to go out and have a prove-it year after his offseason. Jackson's waiver gets approved, which there's questions on that every day. I don't have an update. The staff continues to maintain their positivity on that and thinks that something gets done. Drew, I hate you. Defensive end, you've got a top 5 pick out there, and the ACC Rookie of the Year, Pat Payton, who, when he was on, looked like a man that could not be stopped. I think he's going to play himself into being a top 2nd or 3rd round pick. Brad, I think Brad's already in the animal house. He just doesn't know it. Oh, no, he's not. He's got to sorry. I forgot Brad. Brad, message me later. I'll get you in, Brad. All right. So defense, can they be top 10? If they can. If the defense is top 10, the offense is top 5, we're going to the playoff. And nobody else has that kind of balance. I mean, Georgia has that kind of balance. LSU has that kind of balance. Clemson, there are other teams. Ohio State has that kind of balance. Michigan has that. But that's it. If we're a top 5 offense and a top 10 defense, we're going to the playoff. Like, that's just all it is. You got to find a way to split in September, and then you're there. So, I don't know. Feel really good about that. I would like to hear you guys' thoughts on the defense. To me, that's the big question. Oh, to answer that question, the big problem is that YouTube takes half. Somebody was asking where. So the Venmo and PayPal are down there on the bottom. It's just double fries. It's just at double fries for both of them. So if somebody wants to take the lead away from Brad, that's how you can do it. Brad's in the Discord. I just don't think he's in the animal house. It's hard to. It's like it's a tough thing, Brad. We'll talk to you about it in there. ACC Media Days next week. I think these media days, I was asked about this yesterday on a radio show. I think these media days are a little overhyped. And maybe that's what I'm about to do right now is overhype them a little bit more. But I think the ACC media days are, to me, they're dying. I think all of these things are dying. SEC media days happen this week. Pac-12s are like one day happening today. I'm excited for Kalen DeLoach. I'm excited for Jared too. Jordan's been there a couple of times now. I don't think that's too crazy. I'm excited for Jordan, I guess, but he's been there. So, but what I'm excited for Kalen a ton. I think Kalen DeLoach is a great kid who is a great kid on and off the field, and I'm excited to see him kind of grow into a little bit more of a leadership role and really thrive into that. I'm very excited for him to get that opportunity to go to Charlotte for ACC Media Days. But all that said, I don't think the media days are that big of a deal. I think that you are looking at a situation. Is there an intro course for Animal House? Harlan, can you roll some practice footage just whenever you get a chance? But I think you're looking at a situation where, and maybe this is what the media days has always been, but where it's essentially just a bunch of coach speak that happen. And people are going to want to know about like conference realignment and ACC media days, or conference realignment at ACC Media Days. They're going to want to know about, are we leaving this? Are we doing that? Is this happening? I don't think any of that stuff gets discussed. I think they give very generic answers. I think it's all coach speak. I don't know. I think it's dumb. I think the media days are dumb. All I said, I'm excited for Kalen to go. I don't want to act like I'm not, but I think overall it's just kind of whatever. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I went a couple years ago in 2021, and then Florida State proceeded to win their next or lose their next 4 games, so I'll never go again. But I went, and it was kind of cool. They actually do kind of like some breakout sessions where you can talk to like just your. The biggest thing for me was like the networking, like was to see like the other people that like the David Hales and the Andrew Adelsons and some of the EJ Manuel and stuff like that. So to me, that was what was cool, was getting to network with some of those guys. Otherwise, the actual stuff that comes out of them, just not that big of a deal. All right, we got maybe like 10 minutes left. Not even 10 minutes. Let's go 5-6 minutes and we'll get out of here. Discord for Dummies show. Join but have no clue what a room is related this season. What the Animal House is. Ditto on Patreon. All right, we'll do some of that right now. While you guys are on here, we'll just talk about it. Patreon is a subscriber-based platform, right? When you think about a patron is somebody that like is contributing to a cause, whatever that might be. So patreon.com/DFNS. What that is it kind of just gives you exclusive insight to what we do in the Discord, right? There are some free channels on Discord. You can shoot me a message on there or on social media, JR. Find my handle at TJ_Pittenger. Shoot me a message, and I'm happy to try and assist with any of that. But essentially, Patreon is where you get access to the Discord. We also do a lot of live chats. We chatted with Ingram Smith of the Nolecast and the Battle's End. We chatted with Zach Blostein of Noles 247. We had Josh Newberg on there for a live chat. And so, a lot of what we do is there in the Discord, but it's just essentially a way for us to kind of share updates and have kind of an FSU community of 2,000 or so people that are just chatting ball, right? A lot of times people, social media can be overwhelmed. This is just kind of a chat room. Discord is for 2,000 FSU fans that chat about FSU football. There are different rooms and different conversations kind of going on at all times. Some recruiting focused, some conference realignment focused. Some of it's off the wall stuff like the Animal House. But essentially, that's what Discord is. Patreon is just a way to access that. There are some exclusive channels where we throw in some exclusive updates, some nuggets that we're learning on recruiting. You can get access to all of that on patreon.com/DFNS. If you sign up for Patreon, it's anywhere from $3 and up, depending on how much content, how much access, how much info you want. You can also shoot me a message on patreon.com/DFNS. Shoot a message to the Double Fries No Slaw channel there, and I'll try and answer any questions and help with any of that we can. Hopefully that was a pretty comprehensive way to do this. If you enjoy, I will say, I don't plug that probably as much as we should, the Patreon, but if you enjoy this content and if you enjoy what we're doing on here, you probably should go sign up. You can get in for $3 a month. Go test it out. If you don't like it, request a refund. I can't guarantee that we'll give it or not, but it was $3, right? So, but you should go check it out. We have a lot of fun. We do a good job of trying to be engaged with the community. A lot of the people you guys see commenting here are in there. We have a really good time with it. If you're not signed up, go try it for $3. If you don't like it, cancel. They do make it really easy to cancel. If you have any problems, just shoot me a message and I'm happy to help. But if you like the content that we put here for free, which this will always be free, if you like the content that we put here, we basically do that all hours of the day, every day. I saw people in there messaging at 2:30 this morning. I wasn't up then, but when I woke back up, people were messaging at 2:30, and then I was getting tagged and stuff at 6:30. So shout out Brad for trying to wake me up and get more insight on KJ Bolden. So go check out the Patreon. Again, if you have questions on Discord, I know that can be overwhelming. Shoot me a message, and I'll help you out there as well. All right, what else you guys got? I had a question. Is this going to be similar to the 2010 season? I hope not. I hope it's similar to the 2013 season. 2010, I think last year was similar to the 2010 season, where you had some good stuff going on, but you had some losses there in the middle of the year that kind of drug you down, finished well. I think that this year should be closer to 13-14, right? You should be competing for the ACC and a potential playoff spot. That's really where Florida State needs to be. When you look at it, Florida State should win 10 games, right? I think that if you were to lose any game that wasn't LSU or Clemson, you'd be upset. And I think you really need to find a way to split those two, right? You're probably going to be a 3-point dog in each game, which is essentially, slightly different than a coin flip. You need to find a way to win one of those two. And if you lose anything else, you're going to be frustrated. I think that once you get into Charlotte, once you get into the ACC championship, you need to find a way to win that. But I think that you have to find a way to get to Charlotte with one loss. If you were to lose to Clemson, I don't want to put this out there, but if you were to lose to Clemson, say you lose to LSU, you beat Clemson, and then you lose to Clemson in a rematch in the ACC championship. So you're 11-2. You lost your chance at the playoff by losing to Clemson, but you lose Clemson's undefeated. Say Clemson's undefeated minus your one game with them, and you lose like a thrilling game by 3 or whatever, right? I don't know. I don't think you're like leagues better than Clemson this year. I think you're 2 even teams, and you want to try and get them at the right time and win. So I don't know. I wouldn't call it a disappointment at that time, but I think that's the way that this season needs to go. You need to get into Charlotte with one loss, see what happens from there. Has there been this much excitement since 2013-14? So I don't even think there was that much excitement going into 2013. Weren't we ranked 11th or 12th in the country going into that season? We're going to be ranked higher than that this year. And I think FSU fans knew that Jameis was going to be potentially good, but not as great as – there's more hype around Jordan Travis right now than there was about Jameis going into 2013. Now, after that Pittsburgh game, I think that hype went to another level. But I think there's more excitement right now than there was in 13. Similar to 14. Really, to me, it's similar to 2017, right? And we forget that year because of how things went south so quickly. But to me, the hype level right now is kind of the 2017 hype. Maybe 2016 would be another good one to point at. The hype going into 2016 was pretty real. I thought that if we beat Ole Miss in 2016, we could go out and run the table. Now, I didn't know we were going to go get our heads beat in by Louisville. I didn't know that we were going to miss a field goal against UNC that was going to blow. I didn't know some of that stuff was going to happen. But it reminds me of 2016, 2017. Florida State went into that year, 2017, ranked number 3 in the country. And people were saying that game didn't even matter. People were saying if Florida State can just get through this Alabama game, we're going to get a rematch of that in the playoff, right? And that obviously didn't happen. DeAndre Francois gets hurt. Florida State's not able to do anything that year. Jimbo quits. You had the hurricane that screwed you early. So, yeah, Florida State was in that game. It was unfortunate how it went down. We got about 2 minutes left if anybody wants to beat Brad and hit the super chat or the Venmo or the PayPal. But yeah, I think we were close. I think that but anyway, yeah, a lot of hype this year. It reminds me of 2016, 2017. Maybe even 2014 when you returned a lot of talent and you see the path. That's the big thing. When you looked at the schedule in 2014, I think you looked at the schedule and you said, hey, that Notre Dame game is going to be tough. That Clemson game will be tough. Miami was okay then. I think we knew Kyle was coming back. They were going to be okay. I think you looked at some of those and you knew they were going to be tough, but you said, this is manageable. We could do this. We could just lose one game. We get to the ACC champ. We beat Clemson. We get to the ACC championship. We're going to be in the playoff. I think you knew it was manageable in 2014. I think it's the same thing now. I think that you look at the hype and you look at where Florida State's at and you say, this is manageable. Could we split in September? Absolutely. Could we go 2-0 in September? Absolutely. But is it manageable to think that we could beat one of the 2 Tigers in September? Absolutely. And then if you do that, you should not lose a game in October or November. We'll see what happens in December if you have to take Clemson on again. But I think you're in a really good spot. Do me a favor, hit the like button before we get out of here. Go join the Patreon. Again, I probably don't push that enough. Patreon.com/DFNS. We will link it in the comments. We'll link the Discord in the comments. Come hang out with us. We usually get about 5,000 views on a live. When we go live on Friday, from start to finish, we usually end the live thing with like 600, 700, 800 people that have viewed it at some point. We usually peak around 150, 200 people live at any given point, but we get about 5,000 views on this. We should probably have that many people in the Discord. So if you enjoy this on Fridays, if you enjoy hanging out and talking crap and excited about the Noles as we get to 44 days from the season, go join the Discord, which is down in the comments. Go join the Patreon if you want more exclusive info. It's patreon.com/DFNS. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for all the love. Love you guys very much. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles.